Hello, this is Nick from Genesee Valley Media, and today I'm going to be giving you a very quick and basic tutorial on Adobe Lightroom. Now, Adobe Lightroom is a free app. You can download it to an iPhone or an Android phone for free. The free version does not have all the settings and presets and everything that the paid version has, but it has all the important things that you will need. I'm going to be showing you on a computer. You can also download it to your computer for free, but I would get the app. It's the same thing. The layout is going to be exactly the same. I'm just showing you on a computer, not a phone. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. I already have it open. So this is a, let me just slide this out of the way. This is a throwaway image that I did when Kent Farms Brewery opened up. At least I thought it was a throwaway. So I've reset all my settings that I had, and we're gonna go through blindly and just see how we can spruce this image up that was taken on the fly during the night of Kent Farms Brewery's grand opening. So first thing we notice is that it is crooked. So one of the things you can do is you can go into crop. So this little icon right here, it's the same on your phone as it is on the desktop. It'll just be at the bottom is your crop. And you can do auto straighten. Let's see what that does. Perfect. So what auto straighten does is, just Control Z that. So it's crooked now, and you can move it manually, of course, and it comes up with a grid. So that way you can kind of, I look at the bottom here. So this is a nice flat piece of wood. So if I was doing it manually, I'd look at the bottom of that wood to see when that's level with the lines that I have, or at least as close as it can be. And I like that right there. And then if you just press enter, boom, it's there. Or if you don't want to waste the time trying to straighten it yourself, you can go in and just click auto, and it'll do it for you. So the next thing we can do, so we now have a nice straightened image of this flight that they have. So now it's a little dark. So I want to brighten it up a bit. So here's the exposure. And as you know, exposure is your brightness. So you can work off of auto again. It's the same thing that I like to do. I'll click auto up here, and it'll be at the bottom on your phone. If you click auto, this is what it's going to look like without auto, so nothing to it, and then with auto. So it brightened it up quite a bit, but you'll notice that the background is very grainy. So I do like this edit, but I'm going to go and clean it up kind of like my style. So I'm going to bring the shadows back down because I always like a crunchy black background. And I'm going to bring my blacks down. Now, in turn, I'll bring my whites up because you'll see here the paper and the beer foam. I'm going to bring the whites up to try to just brighten those a little bit. And the highlights, I'll bring up a little bit more of the same. So again, to toggle back on your phone, you just hold it. So just hold the screen and it'll go back and forth from the unedited to the changes that you've made. So this is original, this is now. So we've definitely done a lot just in like the 2 minutes that we've been doing this. Everybody can use this tool. It's free and it's really simple. It's just a beefed up version of Instagram editing. So we were talking about the grain in the background. So let's go down to detail. Some people call this grain. Lightroom calls it noise. So you do have this on your app. Noise reduction. So let's just move that up a little bit. And there we go. That push, what it does, as you can see in here, see this, all this grain, that's called noise. So you can bring this up and it just reduces it down for you. It softens the image. So it takes a lot of the sharpness out because it was very low light where I took this image. And it was just, this is my cell phone. So just point and shoot. I didn't have a fancy camera. It was just my cell phone image. So we brought the noise down. Let's bring the color noise reduction down a little bit. So you'll see in here, I guess this is a bad example because of all the suds. The suds are going to look noisy anyway. But that looks good. And remember, we're pushed in quite a bit, so we're magnified. So if we go back out, look at that. So this is without it. You can see, look in this corner right here, you'll be able to tell a lot. So bring the noise reduction filter back up, and it takes care of quite a bit of noise. So that way, if you wanted to blow this image up, the less grainy and noisy that it's gonna look if we just do that. Now, another thing you can do is texture. So when I bring the texture up, that's gonna make like this wood grain, the table. So let's bring the texture down, it's very smooth. You see that? This is how, like in Instagram or other photo editing apps, they have face smoothing. That's what it does. It just is bringing the texture of your face down. Now, me personally, I love texture. I love making things look like they're popping out rather than completely smooth face. So that's what texture is. So we bring it down, it smooths it out. We bring it up, and it just adds more texture and detail. I think it brings the detail out. Same thing with clarity. Bring clarity down, shoop, it softens the image. You bring clarity up, ooh, look at that. Now it's starting to pop. So clarity down, clarity up. Do you see this, the glass and the edges? All your edges are just becoming a lot more sharp with clarity. And dehaze, so dehaze is perfect for when you're shooting outside. Let's say I'm shooting outside at golden hour, or I'm shooting inside and there's a lot of light leaking through and it's making the image hazy. So let's say you put one of your products next to a window and there's just a whole bunch of haze coming in from the outside. This will allow you to get rid of that haze and bring it down. For this image, it doesn't really make a difference because I'm shooting inside with unnatural light. So I'm just gonna leave the dehaze right where it is at 0. You can add a vignette. So a vignette is the corners of the image. When I bring this up, you'll see that the corners of the image start to go darker or brighter. If I bring them up, it's white. If I bring them back, that adds a little bit of darkness. Now I do, most of the time, I will add a little bit of vignetting, and I'll keep it short at 10. So it barely looks like I'm doing anything. So if I go -10, remember negative is dark, positive is white. If I go -10, it just adds just a little bit of darkness there. So this is the original image, and this is what we've done so far. We straightened it, and we're just trying to make this beer pop out a little bit more. So your curves are basically your brightness. So we have the darks here, the lights here, and the highlights up here. So if you do want to mess with these, so let's say I wanted to bring the darks up just this tiny little bit, because it does look a little dark. I'm going to bring them up. So I'll go to this corner here, because that's the center point for the darks, and I'll just start raising that up. And you see that starts to brighten the image just a little bit. Now if I brought the highlights down, it's the same thing. So rather than going up through your shadows and everything manual like that, you can come right down to curves and mess with it's basically exposure that way. So your midtones, so the middle is the midtones, the upper is the highlights, and the lower, so down is dark, midtones, highlights. So I just brought the dark up a little bit, and I brought the highlights just to make the image slightly brighter from what it was before. We're not doing too much. So this is the before, original image, and this is what it is now. You'll see the background on her sweater right here. It just defines it a little bit more when you brighten it up. Ah, that's a different image. So I think right now that looks really good. And that's a usable image. So this could have been a throwaway image. Remember back in the beginning, when we reverted back, let's reset all the edits. This is what it looked like before we started messing with it. And now we have this. And this has been a total of about 5 minutes of work that we've done. I can see that with the auto straightener, it's a little crooked down here. where the piece of wood is. So you can still maneuver it. So from the auto, I'm just going to straighten it slightly more. Remember in the beginning I said I want to straighten this wood with this line right here that comes up. So when I click on the straighten, it's the same thing with your cell phone when you're using it. You're just using your finger rather than your mouse. So that's better. That's more straight. That's how I want it. So go back to editing. Now, if you do pay for it, you have things like airbrush. So you can airbrush your face if you want to. If you were doing a portrait or had a model, let's say you have a clothing store and you have models in, you want to airbrush your face. Let's say they have a blemish or something like that, and you wanted to go in, you could use the airbrush tool for that, or you can use the healing brush as well. But I personally never ever use those. You can also make a gradient. So let's say you wanted to add text to this. So you do have the gradient tool available on the free version. So I want to add text from the left corner over. So if I click right on the corner, I'm going to bring this gradient out all the way. So this line is the center point. I'm going to bring it all the way out to just the start of this light colored beer. And I'm going to bring my exposure down and my contrast up, my highlights down, my shadows down, whites down, blacks all the way down. And I'm going to move it over just slightly. So this is the area you can see that we're working with. So if I move this over some more, move it out, the darker it gets. So now this whole corner right here is black. So you can put any type of text in there that you wanted to. So let's say you bring this out and you add text in. If you have Photoshop, you bring it out to Photoshop. If you have Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, any app that allows you to write text on things, you want it here so you can put your hours. So you have this beer here. And also, if I go back into this, I can make my frame a little wider over. So I'm going to go back into crop. I'm going to bring it all the way this way. So now I have even more space to work with, and this beer is centered in the open area. So this beer is centered, and now I have all this blackness where I could add text if I wanted to. So that's a cool thing that you can do with the gradient tool. Another thing you can do with it is, let's say your skyline was overexposed, right? You're taking an image outdoors, and it's a really bright day, and your sky is completely overexposed. You can use the gradient tool, do the same thing, except for you'd want to drop down from the top, and you can make all those corrections to the exposure right from the top. So you can bring the exposure down and your shadows, your highlights, so that way you have more detail in your skyline. So that's another cool thing that you can do with the gradient tool. And it doesn't have to be a linear gradient. You can also use a circle gradient rather than rectangle gradient as well. So they do have presets. And presets, if you're working on the fly and you don't want to take the time to edit, and you just want to look through the presets and see if they already have one that you like, or if you're doing a certain style, you can go into presets. And all of these, so as I scroll down through, are presets that Adobe has. So Vivid is a great one for something like this. Matte, it'll make everything almost desaturated looking. That's what a matte means. Everything is just balanced. Same thing with natural. Desaturated contrast, you're just bringing the contrast all the way down. Cool light, so they have all these presets for free that you can use. And you can also, there's a lot of, if you just Google free Adobe Lightroom templates, there's a lot of companies that make free templates as well, or presets that you can download to your phone and use, or your desktop. They have defaults, like Adobe defaults, camera settings, So there's hundreds of presets that are available to you. I like what we did myself. Again, I rarely use presets on my own personal stuff just because I'm so used to doing it that it's quick for me just to go in, and I know I have my own style, so I go off my style. Eventually, once you start taking images of things, you'll start to have your own style. Um, Walker Metalsmiths, for example, they're very particular on how they take their images and edit their images, so that way the jewelry is the forefront of the image, and the background is just that, it's background. So that way when someone opens an image, boom, they see jewelry. When they open this image, boom, first thing that my eyes go to automatically is this beer. So I can even take it a little further with my cropping. So that way, so I have my grid lines here. I very rarely center anything. So it's a little easier with this flight because there's not a beer here in the forefront. So this beer is in the forefront on the left. When we read in the US, we read right to left, right to left. So your eyes just kind of automatically, subconsciously, your eyes will go right to left. So my eyes, when I look at this, since this beer is right at the forefront and everything else is blurred out, automatically they go to that beer. But then after I look at that beer, I go to the left side of the screen and go right to scale everything. So first thing, beer. Second thing, right to left. And then I look more, I see wood grain. So it takes a minute for your brain to process everything that's in an image. So whatever it is that you're taking a picture of, you want to make sure it is in the forefront of the image. Wherever you put it, top, bottom, left, right, make sure that anything else is going to be in the background. Think about it that way. The product or whatever it is that you want to take an image of is in the forefront, and everything else that you're adding to add to the image is in the background. So in a video that I did a couple months ago where I did the product photography, I had that one camera in the forefront and the rest of the cameras added to the background, but they were in the background and my other camera popped out first. Same thing with this flight. This glass pops out first and everything else is in the background. So we have another beer in the background, and then you see the glasses, more glasses in the background there. So let's show you again the original image and then what we did with it. So remember, it won't show you the crop originally. So reset the edits. This is what it looked like before. I thought it was going to be a throwaway image, but it's not. We were able to go in and clean it up to look like this, and I would put this on my Instagram. If this was my company, I'd have it right on my Instagram. Again, for that, let me just show you for scaling, you can do aspect ratio for scaling. So 1:1 is Instagram. Instagram is complete square. Now you can on Instagram make it widescreen, but if you want just something, so if you want your image to match the whole screen on Instagram as someone scrolling through on their phone, do 1:1. You can go into different sizes. If you want to print this, I would always make everything 4:3. Unless I was doing something very specific, like if I was going to add an image to a video, I'd go 16:9. But if I'm printing, go 4:3. So that aspect ratio is going to be your 8:10. Your poster sizes, it'll just automatically crop that for you. So when you go to print it, with whatever print service you use, it'll be that right, automatically. So the best thing about Adobe Lightroom is the ability for you to play with the settings and just find a style that you like. If you're a rustic company doing furniture restoration, have all your images look rustic. Give it that old-timey look. And you can do that with presets. There's presets in there that have old-time presets. And then remember, even if you set a preset on there, so let's say I go in and creative, I want to do vintage instant camera. So this is what a Polaroid image would look like. See how it's very yellow? I can still go back in down to the color, and this is on your phone as well. And the temperature is what the warmth is. So I can make it cooler, or I can make it even more amber looking. Or you can have a medicine dropper here that will allow you to click on something white in the background, and that sets the white balance to whatever the actual light color was when you were taking the image. So don't be afraid to use presets or search through the presets if you're in a hurry. And if you see something you like, but you want to change it slightly, you can select that preset and you can still go back in and edit that preset however you want it to look. That's why I always start with auto. Like I said, so I'll click on auto and I'll go in and I'll just tweak it how I want it, how my style is. So thank you very much for watching this very quick tutorial on Adobe Lightroom. Remember, you can download it to your phone for free, or if you already have Photoshop and have an Adobe account login, you can log in with that and it'll unlock all the features like the airbrush and the clone tool. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Nick at GeneseeValleyMedia.com. Find me on Facebook, just Facebook/Genesee Valley Media, and I'd love to talk to you about image editing and product photography in general. Thank you, and have a great day.